Do you want to know what story I want to tell?
No. What you went to?
Well then, the very first road trip I ever went on with you. Do you remember it?
New York.
Yes.
All the places all comes back to New York.
That's so weird. I'll start. So Lance and I met in January, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally 2 days before you were moving back to Florida.
Yeah, heading to
doing
spring
training. We were talking the whole entire time. Like our texts turned into phone calls and our phone calls turned into FaceTimes. And we were just having so much fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I visit you? I even visited one time.
Yeah, I think your whole family came. Well, you came to, I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. So by the time you got back to St. Louis, we hung out when you first got back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was when, what, April?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd hung out like 3 or 4 times total at this point, but had been talking for months. The very first road trip I ever went on with you. Do you remember it? And one day you call me and you're like, hey, we got a road trip in New York coming up and I'd really like to fly you out. And I was like, oh my God.
It was Easter Sunday, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely. I'd love to. But what you didn't know about me and what these people don't know about me is that my whole life I've been terrified of airplanes and airports and New York City. Okay? So internally, I'm like freaking out.
I didn't know any of that.
I don't, yeah. Why would I tell you that? That's lame. I was what, 22, 23?
Yeah, 23.
And I'm like terrified, right? I'm really just terrified or was terrified of airports because I kept thinking like the intrusive thoughts in my brain were like, you're not going to know where to go and no one's going to help you get there. So I was like tweaking it. Like I didn't want to look like a loser. So I didn't want to like ask for help if I were lost. I don't know. I guess I saw that movie. What's that movie with Tom Hanks?
Terminal?
Yeah. I don't know if that
He was
scarred
a
me.
foreigner with no passport and no, like
See, that could have been me. But do you ever do that? Like when you're in the security line and you're like, oh shit, they're going to find my gun. And you know that you don't have one, but you're like, they're going to find something and then you're in trouble. Do you ever feel that way?
No.
Just me? Okay.
Yes.
Moving right along. That's how I felt about airplanes. And then I always thought I was going to be. No, I know. That's what is so stressful about the situation because it would be like, it's not mine. And then I don't want to talk about it. Anyways, so I'd always wanted to go to New York. And so when I was 14 years old, like the summer before high school, my mom and grandma were like, we're going to take you to New York. And I spent a whole day in bed because I was so anxious. I had made myself sick because I fear that anxiety has controlled a lot of my life over the years. So anyways, not only was I going to have to brave the airport, navigate New York City by myself, but I'm supposed to jump into the arms of a man that I've hung out with 3 times. And you want to know another intrusive thought that I kept having? I was like concerned about the poop situation. Like what if I had to poop and we were in the same hotel room? Like, is that valid?
I was like, oh, I left my
Did you feel that way too?
I left my toothbrush. I need to go down to the front desk.
Oh, so you've done this before.
Oh, that's an easy one.
That's not easy. So that I'm thinking of all of these things, right? So I was just a big ball of nerves coming to New York. And for someone who is so scared about having to go to the bathroom, you took me to Pogo de Chao, which is a Brazilian steakhouse.
Yep, that's a tough one.
And if you don't know anything about a Brazilian steakhouse, they just send over skewers of meat.
Yeah.
Like chicken and lamb and pork and steak and all these things.
There's some questionable meats on a stick, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great and it was awesome. But that was our first official date.
Yeah, and then New York on Easter Sunday we saw some very interesting people walking down to...
there was a big parade, an Easter parade on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a very... that's the first time like New York is crazy, like especially when they have stuff going on, but like walking the streets and stuff. I think they had, was it one of them streets closed going down to Central Park and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was
a nice parade though. It wasn't like nothing weird happened.
Yeah.
Everyone was in pastels.
Yeah. Is that what?
Yeah. There was like Easter bunnies and kids with Easter baskets.
Yeah. They enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
it was cool. We're missing a big part too.
What's that?
I was a weirdo the whole entire time. Did you forget about that?
Nah, I mean, it's your first, well, now that I mean, obviously later
in retrospect,
you told me about like, oh, hey, I fucking I hate New York and I hate traveling.
Well, then I met some of your friends too.
Yeah. And that was the first time you met.
One of them was absolutely horrific and kind of altered my brain chemistry after that encounter. And then the next day I just kind of wanted to go home so bad. Like I hardly spoke. I don't know. I was just in an anxious state of mind. I was like, everyone hates me and I have to go home now.
Yeah. And that was a tough first trip.
Yeah.
But we made it through.
It's a tough first year.
Yeah. But we made it through.
We'll get into that another time. But yeah. So that's the behind the scenes.
That's one of
That's a good one. I don't think I've ever told anyone that story either.
No, I mean,